A 10-time world record.
Stig Severinsen is a world-renowned Danish freediver. He is a 4-time world freediving champion and holder of multiple Guinness World Records. He is the author of several books and has given talks on how mastering breath can improve performance in everyday life.
Like for a viral video to go.
But you should never attempt to hold your breath alone underwater. Gold, 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 gold.
I have so many questions and
I'm just normal. You know, I'm just normal.
This is how normal should be, but every record has a story. Breathing is very, very important. We forget to breathe and we leave our body to breathe automatically.
And high blood pressure, stroke, cancer. You have no control where that air is going and it goes in the top of your lungs. That's a bad thing.
Stig was chosen the ultimate superhuman on the Discovery Channel. In Breatheology, Stig proposes that through working with the breath, a link can be created between body and mind that enables a person to control stress, increase energy, perform better physically and mentally, alleviate pain, and improve health.
So, Stig or Stig?
Stig or Stig, it's actually both, because in Sweden you say Stig, in Denmark you say Stig.
Yeah.
So I call myself Stig. Stig is the Danish. Stig.
That's how you pronounce it.
Stig, like E, like E, Stig.
Okay.
But when I travel and when I meet you and friends and acquaintances, I say Stig, because it's like they can hear the spelling Stig.
Yeah.
And also, you know, the stick, the driver with the helmet. In Top Gear. Maybe you've heard about this program. I don't watch much TV, but this UK show, very famous. So the stick. So he's like called the stick.
Okay.
The stick. So I always say Stig.
Stig.
Yeah, but I will say Stig in my own country.
Stig. I will pronounce your name the way that you pronounce it.
But I usually say Stig Severinsen because then I'm the only one in the world with that name, so it's easy to Google. But also then people can hear how to spell it.
Yeah.
So just say Stig.
Stig.
Yeah, it's fine. Now you know it's Stig.
Yeah.
But Stig.
Stig.
Almost like a stick. The same pronunciation, like safe. Sword.
Yeah.
Then stick is like the way. So some people, even when I'm at Starbucks, you know, in America, I don't know if you've been.
They always pronounce the name.
No, they write it on your cup.
Yeah.
Maybe also in Dubai, but they write your name like Peter, John, Kristen.
Yeah.
So they write, but sometimes when I say stick, they write Stick. Like a stick.
Yeah. That's
it's
interesting.
Fun. What are they writing this time? I'm always like curious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have so many questions, and thanks to Martin, our common friend, who told me about you, and he knew that I do the podcast, and you came on the perfect time, I would say, and plus the perfect person for the perfect podcast that I do. So I try to educate people about health in different places, different areas, different angles, including relationships, how to develop mindset properly. But I would never think that breathing has this much impact, and then here you are. Stig to the rescue. First question is, I mean, for me, I know who you are, but for the audience, I'm just going to introduce you. You are a 10-time world record or Guinness World Record holder.
Correct.
For holding your breath the longest ever. Now,
for different disciplines. One of them is holding. I was the first to hold my breath for 20 minutes underwater. So passing that barrier, because you always have barriers in different things in life. Yeah.
So this 10 is not you breaking your own record?
10 is 10 different. Under ice, I beat the Wim Hof record. If you have seen, maybe not yet, but under ice, I swim under ice in Speedos. I think that's the most famous one.
Yes.
Because it's like, there's a little bit strange, a bit crazy, maybe cold.
Yes.
Maybe for, more here Arab people or people in the warm countries. But it's more like a Viking record. But, cold exposure is very healthy. We can get back to that for everyone. It's good to wake up the cells, you know. And then the Guinness World Record of 20 minutes, 10 seconds, made in 2010. So I like to make my records like a piece of art. It's my craft. It's my work. So I want to be dedicated and precise. So doing 20 minutes, 10 seconds, like the year 2010. So it's many years ago now, right? We're in 2024 now. And then, but I've been active for 25 years in freediving, and I have 4 world records, 4 world record titles. Amazing. So winning the world championship 4 times. Gold. But to make a world record or a Guinness World Record is something else.
Yeah.
A world record you can do tomorrow. but a world championship you only win when you go to the world championship.
True.
Small difference, but people don't think about it so much. But anyways, so the difference is sometimes you dive long distance under ice or in a swimming pool. The last record I did, last Guinness World Record, was in 2020 when I bought the house. We just talked about, you and I, before starting. Little house on the beach in Mexico in a beautiful place called La Paz, meaning the place of peace.
The peace, yeah.
La Paz. And not Bolivia, which is the capital, but La Paz in Mexico, Baja California. So on the west coast side of Mexico. So it's the Pacific Ocean. Mm-hmm. Whales and sea lions and turtles. I'm a marine biologist, so I love this place. But there I set a record in the end of COVID, in the end of 2020, that year with so many negative things. And I thought, I want to do something positive, a positive change. So again, I thought, how can I do something that is like a manifestation or I want to turn my sport into an art form. So I did a 202.0 meters to resemble the year 2020. So I called it the 2020 dive, and it was in open ocean, so that we have to, not forget that we have a responsibility for the ocean, to protect the ocean, even though we have COVID and crazy politicians and all the world going mad. We need to still remember our responsibility to protect the environment, to stay healthy. That I know you're so dedicated on this project as well. So I try to make my record something more than just a record and some random number.
So every record has a story.
Yeah, exactly. And the deep diving, I was the first to pass 200 feet. So that's 61 meters. That was because in the Jacques Mayol and Umberto and the Big Blue, if you know this movie, The Big Blue, the Grand Bleu, classic movie, Luc Besson. A diving movie, but about friendship, about growing up, about love, about friendship and despair. And it's a beautiful movie, Luc Besson, a French movie editor. The music by Eric Serra is fantastic. You should put it on the podcast or put a link. Eric Serra, Serra. And then it's about Jacques Mayol and Enzo Mallorca, this friendly feud, this kind of war between them, but how they got better because of always wanting to beat each other records. And one of them made 200 feet, so I wanted to resemble that, but he did it with a machine. I wanted to do it with no fins, no equipment.
Okay.
So I swim down like a frog, just like this. And then you can hold your breath for a long time. So you don't do anything, you don't move. That's when I do the long one. But the Guinness World Record with 20 minutes or more. I did 22 in the last one when they crowned me the ultimate superhuman. Maybe you heard that from Discovery Channel. They gave me this title, the ultimate superhuman. I should use it more. Maybe
you should
with you here, since you're a Superman, you're a strong man. But those are Guinness World Records where I breathe oxygen. I think it's very important we tell your listeners that this is a pre-oxygenated record. So it's a different style than just going to the swimming pool. And by the way, and then we can talk about this next hour of health and performance and whatnot. But you should never attempt to hold your breath alone underwater, because it can feel so good, or you can be so either stubborn or stupid or inexperienced, or it can actually feel so good when you pass some threshold, some barrier, some level of pain, and just climb this mountain like in weightlifting. You have the legs burning, you have this, and then you hit the zone. It's also called flow, or, you come to a different place. And because you have less oxygen going to the brain, the circulation is changing because of this inner dolphin. We can get back to this mammalian dive response, some reflex that kicks in, and the brain starts to shift to a different frequency, literally, like a different radio station. I tell people that's the easiest way to explain it. So instead of being in beta, like now, listening, attention, judging yourself, putting yourself down or whatever you do, then you go into a more meditative state. So actually, when I hold my breath, I call it meditation underwater. And everyone can learn this technique. And the reason you shouldn't do it alone underwater is because you can actually feel so good that you don't come up. You black out. It's called blackout. In normal terms, you lose consciousness. And you faint, basically. And when you faint, it's not life-threatening. It's not, you're not dying, but then you drown. And that's fatal if nobody's there to pick you up. So even though you have somebody who's not experienced, if they can just pick you out of the water like a little fish,
Yeah.
then it's okay. But nobody should attempt this and try, I'll try tomorrow in the swimming pool.
Let's go back to this into fine structured details, because I know you have a lot to say.
Yeah,
and
but this is
really...
only because you can really kill yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make it dramatic or chaotic, but I lost my best friend, 6th of August 2012, Alex, and I've lost many other friends along the journey in freediving. I don't see it as an extreme sport, but that's why I'm also, I have a background in biology, I have a PhD in medicine, so I'm always educating and advocating for water safety.
Yes.
So that is like the only thing I also want to tell every time I'm on a podcast or radio, TV show, never hold your breath alone.
How did you start? At what age, and what was the point that said to Stig, this is the moment, let's do it?
I started like everybody else, when I was very, very tiny, I held my breath for 9 months. Like everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So we have this innate, which means inborn, natural feeling of not breathing. When you're in the mother's womb for 9 months, more or less, give and take 1-2 weeks, you don't breathe. You have water in your lungs. You get oxygen from the umbilical cord like a diver.
Yes.
Almost supplied with this hose from your mother, umbilical cord. That's also where you get the blood with all the nutrients. So you live from your mother. She needs to eat good food, healthy food to make a strong baby. Not be too stressed, because the stress hormones travel into the baby. So for a good body, a good mind, you need to have a calm, happy, healthy mother, and a good environment around her as much as you can create. But also, having a good mind as a mother is very important. So we all have this natural ability to be not breathing. And that's why the breath holding, we're going to talk about breathing today and a lot of details, anything you want to ask. But I'm really advocating for the breath hold. Not alone, but for the breath holding, it holds so many magical tools that you can use in an everyday hectic life for stress management and so forth. But on a more serious answer to your question, I started because we had, my father built a nice home, designed it, and we had a nice swimming pool, which was not so common in Denmark. I'm from a Nordic country, cold country. So in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, it was not so common. I'm born in 1973, but we had this beautiful swimming pool and I loved swimming. So all my life I was swimming in that pool. It was quite deep, so I would dive down. I always loved animals. So I was a biologist before I became a biologist on the paper with the, university degree and all this. So I would throw all these plastic animals in and swim around. And when I was a small baby, my mother would take me baby swimming. She was a swim teacher also.
Okay.
Swim teacher and working with visually impaired kids. And then when I was maybe 1 or 2, I would jump in the pool. And at the age of 2 or 3, I could dive down and collect all these plastic animals, rubber, the little toys.
The toys, yes.
You throw them in, and I had little dinosaurs and birds and dragons.
I do that with my son in order to teach him how to dive and not to be afraid of water. Yeah.
So that was how it started. And then because we had a boat, we had a nice boat we could live on and sail to Sweden. My mother is Swedish, so I'm half Swedish. So we would go to beautiful Sweden, the lakes, sail around. There were some big channels. So we would go there as well. And then Norway, Germany, so all around the coastline of Denmark. And for my brother, who's 2 years younger than I am, and myself, to be safe, my parents, because I was a bit wild, as a child. I was nice, I think, always happy and positive, but a bit wild. I had a lot of energy. So they were making sure that I could save myself if something happened.
So they had to teach you how to swim.
Yeah, they were very adamant about that. They wanted to have kids that were good swimmers. And then at the age of 5, I got selected for the, it's called the talent team in Denmark. So you have a lot of people competing and trying, like a trials. And then 3 boys got selected. 2 other guys that I still know, and myself. And that was a journey into competitive swimming. So all my childhood, all my children or childhood years, I would swim competitively.
Nice.
And then no other sport until I became a teenager. Then I did martial arts, judo. I was the Danish champion twice. So I did martial arts. Then I moved to America. I did taekwondo and a lot of surfing. But freediving was, you can say, an underlying like passion all my life. And then it transitioned into freediving. When I traveled around the world, it was more like, I have a scuba diving certificate, 3-star CMAS it's called, but like advanced PADI or whatever, like high level, master PADI, whatever. But I realized quickly that when you are freediving, you don't have to, wait for the dive equipment to arrive. You don't have to put all the belts, the lead on, the heavy belts. You don't need to wait for the tanks. You don't need to clean the equipment. So as much as I like traveling the world, I took 1 year off from my biology studies and traveled the world to see the world, to feel the world, to touch the world, the animals, the people, cultures, food. But I wanted to dive the 7 seas. And I found out quickly that you can get out much earlier when you're free diving. You don't have to wait for the dive shop to open at 7. I wanted to go diving with the sharks in Phi Phi Islands in Thailand, just small sharks. They're called reef sharks, black tips and white tips. And they come in on the coral reef very early to eat, also in the night. And then if you go like 5:30 in the morning, you can see these sharks. And so that's how it started. And then I would dive down, and then I could reach 100 feet, and people were like, "Ooh, that's quite deep for free diving." And I could hold my breath already more than 5 minutes. So they said, "You must have some gift." And then I just kept exploring.
Amazing. So knowing, like, as a summary from what you just told me, like, you came from a background who pushed your parents and the environment that you were living in pushed you towards swimming, and the fitness culture that you were around as well, with multiple martial arts activities and so on. You had the mindset, you had the discipline, you had the proper soil for you to grow.
Yeah, just by random chance. And that was, kind of story of my life, basically. Yeah. Now I'm in this breathing expert, whatever you want to call me, right? But I set a goal many years ago. I wanted to become the world's leading breathing expert when I moved to the US again in 2009, which is 15 years now. And you kind of have to put these dreams down and your goals and this and that. And I had written a book in Denmark called Take a Breath. But that then became Breatheology, and I made it, a trademark. It's a registered trademark. It became my company. It became a method, the Breatheology method. It became a style of breathing. Yeah, Breatheology obviously just means the style or the art of breathing, right? So like biology is the science of life. Actually, biology, bios is Greek for life. Bios, like biosphere. And then logos is learning or words. So the learning or the science, the education, you could say, roughly translated, the education or the understanding of breathing or of life. So breathology is the understanding of breathing and implementation of.
By the way, we come from the same background. I also finished biology, but I specialized in genetic engineering. So I became a personal trainer just recently in the past 14 years. But at the age of 51 right now, doing the math based on the numbers you gave me, I mean, you look incredible. If touch wood, if somebody would see you right now, you would go down to late 30s, early 40s with your.
I wish.
So but the biological body, let's call it, or the biological age that you have is definitely way much younger than the actual birth number given for you. There are so many questions again, but I have to control these questions. But let's start with you and complete with you. So we started with when you started. The first time you noticed that you can hold your breath longer than anyone around you, let's say in Denmark or in the Scandinavian countries, when was that moment and at what age?
Well, at a young age, I discovered that. I should start by saying, that everybody could really learn a lot from breathing. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But both the breath holding and the breathing, because we do it so much every day, 20, 30,000 times. So my big mission is to make people understand that if they breathe consciously with awareness, intelligence, they can change so much in their lives. Because it's difficult to change the mind with the mind. If that was easy, we had no depression, no suicidal thoughts, no negative thoughts, no depression, no, anger, no hostility, no antidepressant medicine. We would just say, okay, I'm not feeling too good, but now I'll just be happy. I'll feel great. So if the mind was easy to fix with the mind or a shrink, psychotherapy, psychologist, whatever, all respect to them. But if that was easy and not complicated, we would not even be sitting here today, you and I. But with breathing, it has only one direction. in and out. And there's no doubt whether you're a biologist, PhD like me in medicine, genetic specialist like you, everybody on this podcast, young or old, understand that breathing is life. If you don't breathe, you're not here anymore. The first thing you do when you breathe and you're taken away from your mother is you start screaming, and that's what you're waiting for, the water to come out, and then your lungs inflate, they open like a parachute, and you become a real human being. Before you were an embryo, little baby, now you become a real individual. You can breathe yourself. The last thing we do before we leave this planet or go to the next journey, next dimension, so many religions, so many thoughts, so many ideas, before the next thing happens, whatever that is, we exhale. We expire, literally like expiration, but also expire in the soul, right? So I just wanted to start there so people can listen to that, because anybody understands that the life source, the life energy is in our breathing.
Yeah.
But with the breathing, since it's so simple in a rhythmic way, then you can change your mind. So I just want, that's like my whole, like the main idea is that it's not easy to control our minds for anyone in the world, young or old, professional athletes, bankers, whatever you are, it's not easy. Martial artists, they train it a lot. It's not easy. But with breathing, you have I wouldn't call it a shortcut, but it's a hack. It's a life hack. Because with a special breathing rhythm, you can shut down the stress system called the sympathetic nervous system, and then go into parasympathetic, but let's just call it rest and digest. So I will answer any questions, but I just want people to understand why I'm so passionate about breathing, because it really gives people a life tool, a life skill they can take with them in any situation in life, with it for recovery, sports performance, sleeping better at night, recovering from illness, from also mental disorders, you're a bit unbalanced. It has such a profound effect on your nervous system, and yet it's so simple looking from the outside.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to start there. But then other than that, I'm happy to answer any question that
I love this introduction that you gave us, and let's start with the details of breathing, because oxygen is essential for the body, which means you have to breathe in order to give your body the oxygen that it requires.
Yes.
We live on cells, living cells. Every single cell in our body, which forms the brain, the stomach, the legs, the muscles, everything requires oxygen.
Yes.
How many of us don't know how to breathe properly?
Yeah, most of us, which is a shame. And it's such a shame we don't teach this to kids in school. And of course, in some traditions, in the yogic systems and in timeless wisdom in any culture. I don't know so much about the Arabic culture, but I'm sure, with the singing, with the music, with the rhythms, you have a lot of profound understanding from thousands of years of generations understanding. Japan has a lot of, from the judo, from the martial arts, from the warriors, they understood breathing, to not have fear, to focus. A lot of South American systems. So it's in every culture. But you're absolutely right. What we require is oxygen. And oxygen is 20.9, or we can say a round number, 21% of the air we breathe.
Yeah.
So when we breathe in air, depending on where we are in the world, more or less clean air, it's 21% oxygen. Now that oxygen travels with so we should nose breathe and not use the mouth, but please ask me that later. But the nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating, because we clean the air, we get the nitrogen oxide and a lot of other things we can nerd on later in the program. But the point is, we get the air in through the nose or the mouth, but best through the nose, and then it goes into our lungs. And in our lungs, the oxygen is taken up by the bloodstream. And then the heart is beating like a machine, dong, 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 and it pumps out the blood to every single cell. If the cell doesn't get the oxygen, it dies. Yeah. Every cell. Yeah. Some cells are more sensitive to oxygen or not. Brain cells, lung cells, heart cells, very sensitive, especially the brain. Some organs and some areas of your body need less oxygen, but they still need it. So when you get the oxygen, what happens inside the cell is there's something called the mitochondrion, or mitochondria in plural. It's a little energy factory. And in that place, oxygen is like a furnace. So it is the fuel, like for gas for a car, exactly the same. And the oxygen, a little bit of water and some sugar. We can just call it food, so people don't think it's like white sugar, don't eat sugar. But energy we get from our food, nutrients, and water and oxygen goes into a process, and it creates, it's called the metabolic process. It creates life. But what it creates is energy. It's called ATP, but you are very much an expert on this. We don't have to make a boring conversation, but adenosine triphosphate, it breaks down to adenosine diphosphate or diphosphate or diphosphate, which means 2. 3 is tri, like a trifork. Point is that there's energy in a phosphate structure. And when it breaks down, it's like a rubber band that snaps, energy is released. So we store this in these cells or these little structures. And without oxygen, this process doesn't run. We need the electrons donated in the electron transport chain. But then again, it gets too complicated. It happens inside something called the endoplasmatic reticulum. It's a very curved wall inside of these cells. So there's a lot of a surface area inside. It's kind of a good way of having a long line when you take it up and down, up and down. But the point is we need the oxygen to live and to thrive and to be strong and healthy and to perform well in sports. Because if we don't have oxygen, again, everybody listening, maybe they don't think they know the answer, but they do. When we don't have enough oxygen or we don't meet the VO2 max, as it's called, then we create lactic acid. So lactic acid is kind of the last resort. It gives us a little bit of energy for 10, 15 seconds, but then everybody who's done training or running, they know that we just stop. There's no way you can do anything more. You get stiff, you get cramps, you're done. It's a last resort. But then with the proper breathing, back to your question, the whole energy reserve and energy delivery changes. And so maybe that goes back to your kind words about, my appearance. You get more healthy skin, you get more oxygen, maybe for women, especially listening, right? They're using so much money on creams and all these other things they put on the face, but, stimulation and stimulating the collagen and all this stuff to you look young, or at least maybe just look your best, right? And so for your skin, for your teeth, white teeth, natural white teeth, not dyed teeth, and white eyes, very white eyes. All this is described in many cultures, but especially in the Ayurvedic culture, Ayurveda, in the yogic culture. I'm sure in Arabic styles you have some of the same. So food is basically your medicine. Healthy food keeps you healthy. Obviously, if you put shit in, shit comes out, right? Put in good food, good nutrients, you have good energy. And the same with breathing. If you breathe properly, to go to your question or to your open question, if you breathe properly, then there's a balance between your heart rate and the blood pressure and the delivery of oxygen. In other words, if you don't breathe properly through the mouth, for example, with the chest, with the shoulders, because you have a tense diaphragm, maybe you're a bit nervous, maybe you're stressed like most of this world's population, but you don't know about these simple rhythmic breathings, maybe to not breathe, a little breath hold for 10 seconds, then because you're kind of lacking in the delivery, then your heart rate goes up. It says, hey, body, or not body, not friend, but hey, body, your physical body, I need more oxygen. And it also tells the brain, hello, we need more oxygen. Put that heart rate up. How do you get the heart rate up? Adrenaline, stress hormone. So you put stress hormone into yourself without knowing it, because you don't know better. You don't know the biology. You don't know the reason behind it. When you get adrenaline, the heart rate goes faster. That, of course, elevates the blood pressure. Then you go to your doctor. He says, oh, you need to take statins or whatever thing. You need the blood pressure down, instead of doing normal breathing or good breathing and doing some stretching and, regulating the diet, not having too much salt and whatnot, so that your blood pressure gets normalized again. So we have so many, I would call them first world problems, or first world, modern world. I'm not talking about the West or East, or white or black or Arabic or Jewish.
Feel fine,
any
we're living in
thing.
Dubai, so
I'm just talking about the modern world, which is more stressed than when your grandfathers were harvesting in the field and my grandfathers were harvesting in the fields with the cows 2 generations ago, milking the cows. Same everywhere. Goats maybe, whatever. So in 2 generations, we have changed so much. And basically the whole modern world, because of everything with social media and all these things that people understand, then we're so far removed from our natural way of living, breathing, moving, working. And that has happened in a lifespan just that we have been alive, you and I, about half a century, 40, 50 years, right? So because of that, and we don't have this natural way of listening and singing or going, into a choir or using this drums or, that we had in our tribes back hundreds of years ago, and helping singing and breathing and fine-tuning the breathing, then we're completely lost in the world. And that's why we're disconnected from our bodies. So we don't know how to regulate the body. So when people tell me, how can you look so strong or fit, or how can you perform at that level, or, you're past 50, or how can you, always be so energetic, or why you're never ill? I'm just normal. I'm just normal.
This is how normal should be. But in an abnormal world,
I'm just natural,
We're talking about a normal person in an abnormal time.
I just see myself as natural, and I eat candy. I drink alcohol sometimes. I'm not an angel. I don't drink a lot of it. And I do know what my body needs, and I can feel the needs when I train and do different things. I need this, that for world record attempts. I'm very attentive. I have a good connection with my body. But many people are disconnected, and the same as medicine. The medical world is looking at your mind and at the specific thing that's going on in that organ. It's very organ specific, but not looking at a more holistic view. So why are you having this issue there? Why are you having this pain? Why are you sensitive to this, that? And we don't look at the bigger picture, the environment. And now you said you're, specializing in genetics. I'm a friend of Bruce Lipton. So we can talk about epigenetics without going into it too much, but it means something that is put, epi means on top of. Yeah. So something that's put on top of or around or affecting your genes. So we all have these wonderful genes given to us from generations of every ancestor line behind us, but they turn on and off like a signal light at the intersection. But it depends on the signals they get.
Yeah.
So if you're stressing your body and you don't know how to breathe, so you're kind of keeping yourself in a adrenaline mode all the time, then of course you have a higher risk or a chance, but I would call it a risk, that some of the bad genes turn on because you're living in a stressful environment, acidic environment. Acidic meaning pH is low. You're not balanced in your nervous system. Your organ function is compromised because it needs to either, like the heart rate here, pump too much, or you're just not feeling energetic or sleeping well because you're not getting either enough oxygen or you're just not in balance. Let's just put it that way. So we are living in a very hectic, frantic world where the first thing we should learn was to use our breathing to calm our mind and connect with our body, just like children do.
Yes.
Children know this. Puppies do it, cats do it. If you look at a cat, they're all the time in the world breathing with the belly, which is not the belly, but the diaphragmatic breathing. So not chest breathing, not, any tension in the solar plexus region. So my big mission in life is to get people back to just the fact that they can take power back of the control of their own health, mentally, physically, spiritually. I'm not saying you should not see a doctor. I'm not saying you shouldn't get surgery or, my brother is one of the finest surgeons in the world. He's an ophthalmologist, so he's doing eye surgery. So I'm not against doctors or not saying you shouldn't trust a doctor, but certainly we should have a more holistic approach. I think, coming here to Dubai, and you can ask me next question, but what I've seen here, it seems like it's very open-minded. That's one thing I love about Dubai. So we take the best from timeless wisdom. We take the best doctors from the world because Dubai kind of, it seems to me, they want the best of everything. So best chefs, best doctors, best trainers, best, athletes. And I think that's a great mindset.
It is definitely. And it helps people be more creative and grow, and like-minded people also meet and do these podcasts to educate people even more and spread the knowledge to the entire world through podcasts, through different platforms, and utilize these platforms. Breathing is very, very important. We forget to breathe and we leave our body to breathe automatically. Does our body automatically know how to breathe, or do we need to be voluntarily controlling the breathing in certain times when we are stressed. So, for example, as a personal trainer, when I teach my clients during a workout, or myself, let's start with myself, when I'm doing the heaviest exercise, squat, deadlift, I focus on breathing and I can lift the weight. It's more of a mindset, controlling the breathing for me, but that's me knowing it for myself. People need to be aware and educated how to breathe and how the importance of breathing can make them shift their body to another dimension.
Yeah.
Talking about a dimension that the world right now is not in a right place. So we need to bring it back to the normal, like you. Yeah. This is normal. They are abnormal. You're not a super ultra human. You are definitely, for sure, for all the achievements that you have done. But it's just looking at people who, like myself, look at you like, I'm like, wow, 22 minutes. That's crazy. But I haven't tried. I haven't attempted. Exactly. Nobody has. You are the person who took it to the next level because you believed in it and you study it and you know about it and experienced it and you've done it, like many other things in life. Mm-hmm. So breathing is very important, going back to this point.
It's a very good question. I can answer it briefly and try to be not so long in my replies. But you know, as children, we are pure. Every child in this world, pure thoughts, pure mind, pure natural. They know what to do because they have to know what to do. Now, children are very helpless. The human child is the most helpless. I'm sure people know, it takes years and years to be with the mother to learn to, like I have horses, I told you before we started the interview, they stand on the legs the same second they come out. Why? They need to escape when predators come. They need to be able to run with the herd, especially with the mother. If not, they're just lost. Different with children, different with apes, monkeys. But because we have such a big head, because we've developed the brain, we were born in a different way, and the head is like 1/3 of the whole child when it comes out, basically. So we need to, proportionate the body through those first years of a very young child's development, and the coordination and everything takes a long time. There's no child that can just stand walking. That's just not happening. So to your question, we need to be retrained in breathing. And that's why I decided to dedicate my life to it. After I did the swimming and the judo and the martial arts and the biology education, and I was specialized in marine biology, but also neurophysiology and human physiology. I studied also in Spain and Sweden. And then I did my PhD in medicine. So you asked me about the journey before. All these moments of serendipity, all these moments of going everywhere, it was a natural selection. Always I felt I just followed my passion. Yeah. But it's not that I'm lazy and I didn't have a job as a child. It's not that I didn't work late hours or worked at a hotel and, I did hard labor. I did all of that. But I always did things that I was, loving doing, and then you become better at it. Same with the breath holding. Like when I was a child, I think I forgot to answer the question, but actually to segue a little bit, I found out the first time, I forgot to answer the question, when I was good at holding my breath, when I traveled around the world and people were like, oh, you can dive so deep and this and that. But it actually started when I was around this age of 5 and 6 and 7. And I was doing the competitive swimming. But imagine I'm a child of 7, little skinny boy. I was fit, but skinny, right? Like any child of 7 shouldn't be fat or obese at 7, sure. God forbid. But, I was a normal skinny child, fit. Obviously, looking at the teenage boys with hair on the chest and the voice changing, the teenagers, right? 13, 14, 15. I was like, these are men. Wow. Goddesses, or gods, warriors. Maybe 15, 16, but sure. Swimmers, when they're 15, they're like a grown-up man.
Yeah.
Broad shoulders, slim hips, big chest. So you would look up to these like, wow, they're the gods, No way you can beat them, no chance, nothing, no competition. But then at Christmas every year, we had one day off because it was quite high and, like competitive level. But we had one day off and we would do like different diving exercises. And we had one game called Sharks and Goldfish.
Okay.
So everybody would be diving from one end of the side of the pool in the deep end to the other. And then one would be a shark, only one person, like the bad guy. And all the other little fish were goldfish, and they should dive. So the shark would catch a person, and that person would become a shark.
Oh.
So, after a while, you had maybe 3 sharks and 20
and
goldfish.
Then everyone is a shark.
Then 4 sharks, 19 goldfish. And then in the end, only 1 goldfish left, and everybody sharks. And I was usually the little goldfish. So I found out also that I could dive longer distance than these big
Sharks.
Men.
Yeah.
Also when we did long distance diving, when we tried, we were swimming competitively fast, speed. But I had this ability to completely shut down my brain or whatever I did and naturally go into this state of complete relaxation. I was very active as a child. I'm sure if I lived today as a teenager, I would have been given 16 different stamps in the forehead. They have this urge to give all this, ADHD and this, that. I was a completely natural, healthy, very energetic child. I've never been to a hospital. I've never broken a bone in my body, But I think I had this ability, maybe because I was a bit wild and high energetic, to go to the other side, the yin, the yang, the balance in life, the moon, the sun, the day, the night.
Yeah.
I had this ability to completely go into a quiet place and just not be stressed about getting the urge to breathe and the body screaming. I could just completely overrule those signals naturally. I don't know why or how, I just could. And then later in life, I then decided for the freediving. I actually played underwater rugby for many years, 15 years in the elite team. Probably people don't know listening, but underwater rugby has been selected as the most crazy, wild, nuts sports in the world several years in a row. And it's just, you go to a swimming pool, you go in the deep end, you put on the same equipment as for water polo, so protecting the ears, like a helmet.
Okay.
You put protection on your groin, so your vital parts, reproductive parts. You put something in your mouth, like in boxing, so you don't knock out the teeth. And then you have fins on. So it's like you go snorkeling on the coral reef. Fins and a small snorkel and the mask strapped on with Velcro. And then you go absolutely bananas, berserk. There are no rules and you just go crazy. So it's in 3 dimensions. The goal is in the deep end of the pool. It's a steel goal. Like it looks like a basketball goal, same size, but it's steel and it's screwed into the bottom so it doesn't move. And the goalkeeper is lying on top of that, holding his breath and fighting for his life. And then you just have to basically, if not kill him, then, go crazy. I played that also in the national team. And then when I moved to Spain and studied there, I played underwater hockey, which is with a stick on the shallow end of the pool, but still you hold your breath. So it's a little bit less crazy and violent, but still all of these sports I did were like HIIT training, high stamina, high sprint, high CO2, so hypercapnic training, which is becoming very modern now. I'm one of the guys pushing it because it has a lot of benefits, but it also, gives you an incredible cardiovascular fitness, incredible stamina, and the resistance to delay the lactic acid and to break it down faster and all these good things to become an athlete at high level. So that is, one of the reasons I think I discovered I could do this. And then to answer your question, throughout all that, I had asthma as a child, severe asthma. And I had allergies also for grass and for animals. So I loved animals, but we couldn't have animals because I couldn't tolerate the fur, especially cats, the worst. Dogs, okay. But if a cat came in the room, I went to a farm or something, I would, sneeze and stuff. So I cured myself because I found the breath holding would help on the asthma and the different imbalances in my sensitivity. And so I think as a child, you like I said, you breathe naturally, but then society, and that is back to your big main question, which should maybe be the whole focus point of this wonderful podcast you're running, or for us today, the theme, we are born in a beautiful natural state and we know how to breathe as babies. The diaphragm moves, there's no tension. You can just look at a baby, it's perfect. It's like a cat.
Yeah.
There's no stiffness in the neck, no tension in the arms can go in and out, the legs can spread out in a split. Babies are holding the toes. It's like a perfect little natural thing. But then life gets in the way and you have all these things put upon you from society. Stand straight, tie the belt, put the tie on when you're going to banking or whatever fancy world of making money, right? put that tie on, button up the last, button in the shirt.
Yeah.
Look sharp, put the chest out, puff it out, suck the belly in. So we have, and that's for men only. Then, think about women, all those things they have with the dresses and the shoes and everything,
that they wear,
belts and corsets and all this that really restricts breathing and being natural, basically. So from society, whatever religion and culture we live in, we have all these outside things put upon us that restricts our breathing. Literally restricting from the clothing.
Physical restriction.
But also mentally.
Yeah.
Don't show your anger. Don't start crying. Don't yawn. Yawning is a great sign of relaxing. Opening the jaw, the whole neck where the carotid artery runs. That's the highway for our blood to the brain, for people that don't know the word. The vagus nerve runs in each side. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. It's the master nerve for relaxation. When you go to sleep and you look at your dog or your child and they're yawning, you start yawning because of the mirror neurons in your brain. So you're like, ooh, but if you don't allow yourself to be natural and listening to your body's signals, then you start to build this fence or this wall of restrictive, semi-natural or pseudo-natural ways. So you start breathing in your chest because of tension in your diaphragm, because of fear, anger, anxiety, sadness, sorrow, abuse, violence. All those things go straight in the solar plexus region. They go, so when you say, oh, I'm heartbroken, you don't feel pain in your heart. No. Oh, I'm nervous. I think I might get fired from that job. I feel, I have this pain in my stomach. No, there's no pain in the stomach. The stomach is a little plastic bag, a little where food is inside. The pain is in your diaphragm.
Yeah.
The pain is between your stomach and your heart in the left side, behind your lungs. It's in in a solar plexus. And solar plexus means a solar is a sun, something radiating, and a plexus is a network. The solar plexus is one of the most tight-bound areas of nerves intertwining from different parts of our nervous system. And the moment we start to get any kind of fear or restriction or
being upset
or some traumatic event, it can be very traumatic or just slight traumatic, things you're not allowed to do, things you get, if you're not allowed to follow your dreams or what you want to do, no, don't do that. You follow this career. Okay, yes, sir. Then you start to restrict the diaphragm. And because the solar plexus is sitting on top or on front of the diaphragm, which is our breathing muscle, the diaphragm is just a big membrane, just so we get everybody understanding.
Yeah.
So the diaphragm is the big muscle, the big area of tendons and muscles and ligaments. It's a big membrane. It looks like an umbrella or a jellyfish. And when we're breathing, because it's connected to the lower part of our lungs with another membrane, but that's a little bit too complicated maybe, but it's connected directly to another membrane. So when we breathe in with it through the nose and the mouth, and it says, we create a negative pressure, so a vacuum. We suck in the air, and then the diaphragm moves down like a piston. So it's like an umbrella that's turned around.
Yeah.
The air comes in, the oxygen jumps into the bloodstream, the heart beats, hopefully in a natural way. So when your breathing is coordinated with your heart rate and your blood pressure, those three things are natural, then you have perfect health. Your immune system is as high as it can be. The production of different hormones for regulating the metabolic rate and your growth and your sleep pattern and the diurnal rhythm, all these things that you're an expert in and your listeners are interested in, becomes normalized or balanced. As soon as you start to move some of those things, and especially blocking the diaphragm, then we cannot breathe. So back to the king question or the queen question or the key question of today. Why is it that people don't breathe right? It's because we're not taught from childhood how to continue to breathe naturally. So in that gap between being a baby and listening to your needs, screaming, ah, when you're hungry or tired or afraid, and using the diaphragm and the voice, ah, right? Just singing, but you're singing your feelings out. Ah. Then when you get restricted in that, what happens? You shut up. You close the chakras or the energy areas of your body. You can call them what you want, your throat, your voice. You don't complain, especially, I guess, women, not to talk about, again, but women are maybe often more suppressed. So you just shut up. So with women, I mean, children, girls and boys, right? Boys are more like outgoing and violent and more physical often.
Yeah.
But not everyone, of course. We're all different. But regardless, when you start to restrict the diaphragm, then you shut down the breathing mechanism. So we breathe about 20 to 30,000 times each day. Everyone listening on this podcast is breathing the same amount of rhythm, right? If you're stressed, you breathe more, which is bad because you breathe more inefficiently, but you're compensating, like you said, with the heart rate to get more oxygen. So you're already in a negative spiral. You're wearing down your health. That's why you get more, wrinkled skin, more gray skin, whether it's a man or a woman. You are more, you're less energetic because your power station is not balanced. Your battery is not charged fully or, optimally. Then you don't get your night's sleep. Then you start to produce sleep apnea or these night sleeps that are not deep into REM. Maybe you get interrupted many times during night. Then you maybe have a hard time falling asleep again because you don't have breathing techniques that are very easy. For example, slow exhale. So if you double the exhale time to the inhale time, you can go back to sleep in 1 minute. So those life hacks you're not taught by your doctors because they want to prescribe pills because that makes them money, right?
I want to stop you here. You said something very important. I think it's an exercise that we can ask our listeners to do.
Yeah.
Double the exhale time.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. To fall asleep or relax?
Relax in general is one of my go-to exercises. I call it relax on demand. I created that title because it sounds fancy and flashy, but I think everybody would like to be able to relax on demand.
Yes.
Like flicking a switch, click. You can turn off the light, turn it on. You can turn on the relaxation by this one exercise. I teach this to the Navy SEALs and the Royal Air Force. I train all these special ops and athletes as well. So we can certainly do that. And if people only get this exercise from this whole podcast, or you put it in the front, or in the end, or a link, then maybe that's enough.
Exhaling through the mouth or through the nose. Which one is better?
Always inhale through the mouth. So let's get to
inhale through
the nose. The nose is for breathing. The mouth is for eating. Why is the nose for breathing? Let's go into it a little bit for your listeners here.
Let's go.
The nose is a big filter, right? And first you have the hairs, men and women.
Yeah.
And the hair is filtering out the particles, the dust, mosquitoes, things flying around, literally physical things the size of a millimeter or two, little things.
Yeah,
dust.
Which is not visible to the normal eye, human being.
Maybe semi-visual, but little things, dust and dirt, you see it in the sunlight maybe, that is filtered by the nose. That's why we get the boogers, you know?
Yeah.
Then when you come up into the nose, just a little bit up to the nose, you have the mucous membrane. You have a wet membrane, and that takes the smaller particles, they stick there. And what are these particles? Many times, not just mosquitoes and dust from the sand. No, these are bacteria, viruses, sponges, like little early stages of something that could infect your body, right? So you're cleansing and preventing getting that into your lungs, which will then go into your body, right? Internally. So already by doing nose breathing, you're making sure you have a better health. That is absolutely no doubt about it.
That's number one.
Yeah, because with the mouth, it's like a cloaca. You just get everything done.
Can we say this like for a viral video to go?
Yeah.
Breathing through the mouth increases the risk of diseases compared to breathing from the nose. And high blood
pressure and stress because you produce adrenaline, because when you breathe through your mouth, it's not efficient. So your body needs to compensate. So you produce adrenaline because that is the juice that gets the heart rate up. It sends the signal, go up. So you're absolutely setting yourself up for failure or an early death or a stroke. That is how most people die.
Yeah.
Stroke, cancer. Maybe we're coming up now on the third on lung and lung issues or breathing issues, breathing complications, and then also the mind, of course. So depression, dark thoughts, and stuff like that. So, but stroke, number one, stroke meaning either the heart has a big problem, or the cardiovascular system in general, or the brain.
Or the brain.
So a blood cloth, basically. Yeah. Some place in the system, there's a cloth, there's a blockage, and that creates a huge problem. Either the heart dies in a few minutes, so it cannot pump, or it's the brain, and we all know how that goes because we all have family members that have had a stroke, maybe either survived or got some damage or severe damage or died.
Yeah.
So when you have something blocking the brain, some areas will die because they don't get oxygen and nutrients.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can certainly prevent it. Not that it never happens, but you can stay more healthy and have a better health through nose breathing. That's also why yoga talks about it. But then let's also talk about not just the cleansing. We produce a molecule because I'm sure your listeners are smart, so we can go a bit into details.
Mm-hmm.
And we should teach our kids this in the first grade, and doctors should know this and know better. So I'm not angry with doctors, but they're just very, like I said, organ focused, not the holistic way, not the whole way of looking. How's the body? Amazing. I think the body is the most amazing thing in this universe.
Yeah.
And I want people to understand that their body, you listening out there, you have the most remarkable machine that ever was created. But we don't know how to run it. We don't get a driver's license for the biology, right?
Sure.
We do it in sports because you had an urge and you created muscle and you found a new lifestyle or whatever happened in your life, To me, it was another journey. But for completely average, wonderful, normal, loving people, they don't have the time or they don't meet these doors that open in their lives, maybe for whatever reason. But society/doctors should have taken the responsibility upon them, and politicians, to educate people, and for kids especially to have manners to deal with stress and stressful situations for exams and being, other people or other kids nagging on them and stuff. They should have different breathing techniques and patterns to control the mind, but from outside, from the body and from breathing. So we could produce something called nitrogen oxide. It's a small gaseous molecule. It's produced in the nose, in the mucous membrane, in that soft, wet membrane, and in sinuses. About 17 years ago, 3 scientists were given the Nobel Prize for the discovery of nitrogen oxide. It's also called nitric oxide. Doesn't matter, NO. So it's existed always, obviously. That is why yoga is so focused on nose breathing, because they knew, without the word NO, that nose breathing keeps you healthy. It can remedy a lot of illnesses. It can rebalance your nervous system. Keep you rejuvenated, give you longevity. All these things we're talking about now in biohacking, like it's a new big thing. It's just ancient things, but now we're measuring it, like things on your clock and blood numbers and insulin numbers and, heart rate and heart rate variability, all these things, sleep patterns and stuff, REM sleep, all this stuff, genetic markers as well. But if we don't understand the basics, that nitrogen oxide is a vasodilator, that's what they were given the Nobel Prize for. The discovery of what it does.
Yes.
So nitrogen oxide is a vasodilator. It's a very fancy word. It just means that this molecule has the ability to make the smooth muscles relax. So dilator means opening. So it opens your blood vessels.
In the smooth muscles.
In the smooth muscles. So the blood vessels are lined like a tube with smooth muscles. Probably people don't know this, but it doesn't matter. The effect is that it opens your blood vessels, meaning you can transport more
efficiently
blood, more oxygen, more nutrients, but without compromising the heart rate. It has to beat faster and the blood pressure. And so the definition, if you want, in my definition of a healthy body is obviously, besides of the mind, is a good cardiovascular fitness. What does cardiovascular mean? It means cardio, it's the heart, cardiac, cardio, it means the heart, and vascular is the vascular, is the
network of the
channels.
Yeah.
It's all the supplies, like all the branches.
The
it's
arteries
all the blood
and
vessels.
veins, yes.
Arteries,
veins,
and small capillaries,
everything.
and all these things. So everything that has a tube where blood runs inside, and the lymphatic system for that matter. So the liquid that also keeps us healthy, but also something that modern medicine is not really looking at or paying attention to. Ooh, lymphatic system, is that important? Oh, yes, it probably is very important for you, especially your immune system and cleansing. Anyways, nitrogen oxide helps you in the sense that when it is breath in, when you come with the nose, since it's produced in your sinuses, so little cavities that are connected to your nose, you take it into your lungs. If you only do mouth breathing, you completely lose out on the benefits of nitrogen oxide. There is no nitrogen oxide in your mouth. Nitrogen oxide, people can just look up the studies, will increase the oxygen uptake by up to 10-12%.
And that's a big
in
one.
every breath.
Yeah.
And we're breathing 20 to 30,000 times. So my claim would be, you asked me before, so we don't know how to breathe right? No. Most people probably breathe, but are not aware of it, at 70% of their capacity. That is just a number I'm throwing out, but I've done this all my life. So it's not 30 and it's not 95. It is probably around 70% of their max. In other words, in math, if they could breathe 100%, get fully oxygenized, stay healthy, stay balanced, then, life is good. No. If you're at 70%, you're throwing away 30% of your health, or you could say your oxygen, your energy. We talked about it in the beginning, the energy production, the gas, the fuel. You throw that out, or you prohibit it to at least help you in your body. That also goes for a night's sleep. Yeah. Because the way you breathe at daytime, it's so autonomic that it also stays with you at night. But the good news is, doctors also don't tell you this, but if you balance your breathing system at day, it goes with you into the night. That is why you get better rest. You can maybe get rid of sleep apnea. You can rebalance this skewed, balanced system that was too much running on adrenaline and cortisol and stress. And the diaphragm, the moment it opens up, that's why people start crying sometimes in breathing sessions and rebirthing and these different styles of breath healing and breath training, because you release traumas and things that are somatic. Yeah. It means it sits in your body. But now let's finish the nose. So from the nitrogen oxide, besides of opening the blood vessels, it is antifungal. Okay. It kills the little germs that are fungus. Yeah. Creates a very bad environment. If people are interested in gut health and staying healthy inside, it is antibacterial. That's obvious. It kills bacteria. It's antiviral. It kills virus. So talk about COVID and stuff like that, which was just a flu, right? It's not like something from another, extraterrestrial place. It's just a normal flu like anything else, just a different name. It was called corona because it had a crown. So it was a round protein structure. That's all. But it's existed always. It's always going to come back. It mutates, it changes, but it's no big deal, really. If you're dying from it, you're sick. No healthy people died from COVID, I guess. We would have seen hundreds of thousands of kids dying around the world, especially in countries that don't have medical help. No children died. End of story. Okay, just look at the results. Don't
absolutely. I totally
look to the fears mongering and all this nonsense from politicians and doctors and people that wanted to sell you vaccines and boosters that now on the 12th booster still don't work. So they were lying. End of story. And they should be held responsible, but that's a different story. That we'll let the lawyers do that with Pfizer and all this stuff, which they prohibited suddenly some of the different vaccines. Like, oh, we're stopping them. Why are you stopping them if they're so great? Why are you taking them out of?
They just completed the studies.
Yeah. So, anyways, so to come back to the breathing, you set yourself up for success when you use the nose. With the nose, you also discover an environment like a natural animal. What's going on around you? What are the people around you smelling like? And I'm talking about not just the smell of perfume, but the smell of fear or stress. You sense all those things when you start to get back to a natural state. So that's why animals, especially dogs, they have a very fine nose. They sniff and they know. Again, we talk about horses, dogs, cats. People know all these animals. I have horses. A stallion, a male horse, will never go near or jump on the back of a female horse if she's not ready. It's a waste of energy, waste of time. She's annoyed. She'll kick him. He can get severely injured, literally break his jaw or hit his leg, right? These horses kick with a ton of power. So they know when the lady is ready. And the same with dogs and cats. And they go crazy and run out to try to find when they're in heat, it's called, right? When they're ready with the ovulation. And women has the same. Once a month, something happens, right? The eggs come down and it's completely related to the moon, why it's called the menstrual cycle, and it follows a lunar cycle. So we are connected to Mother Earth and the universe, but we just forgot it because we're living in a modern civilized life in our brain, not in our body. So when you start using your nose, you come back to this natural way of breathing, a healthy way of breathing. And then the last thing, because I could talk about the nose for 3 more podcasts, but when you do nose breathing, you facilitate diaphragmatic breathing. That sounds a little bit complicated, but in layman terms, it just means when you use the nose, you set yourself up for a more profound and deep breathing. So people can just do it, and then we can do the breathing exercise. Mouth breathing does everything bad to you. So we can just put it like that today.
Yeah.
It takes everything in your throat, in your lungs. You don't know where the air is going. You put stress hormones in your body because you open the chest too fast. So it feels a tension, like a fear, a small fear, and that produces adrenaline. And then the heart rate goes up. And even if you put air quickly in your chest, just not of being afraid, but just from the pressure, because the pressure membranes and sensors in the lungs, it will tell the adrenaline to be produced. So the heart can beat, and you're a little bit in a danger situation. So the way you breathe is the way you feel. Yeah. There's no way around it. And the way you feel is the way you breathe. That's why people start doing these bad things and bad habits. They develop bad habits. So my main goal in Breatheology is to make people aware, like you're also opening people's eyes, right? Intelligently, telling people there are better alternatives. So I want people to find and understand that they've created some bad habits, but just because they didn't know better, nobody taught them. And then I want them to realize that they can make them into good habits. So they're doing the same, like breathing from the mouth, chest breathing, poor breathing, not getting oxygen, but they can just shift that when they learn that and create that into a good habit, nose breathing. And what I mean by facilitating, I mean helping the diaphragm. So if people do it now and put a hand on the chest and a hand on the belly, you will feel that when you do chest breathing with the mouth, we do it 3 times together. Very wrong now. Okay. Like this. One more. Really a big one with the mouth. We feel the hand moving on the chest, certainly. And we feel dry in the throat already. We're drying out. We're losing liquid. We're losing water that we need so dearly in the body. Now we change. So we use the nose like we're smelling a rose. So we're smelling the environment. We're learning what's going on. Slight pause and then out through the mouth. That's fine. The mouth is fine. You can use the tongue or the lips. I call it snake breathing. It sounds like a snake, so people understand it. Again with the nose. A slight pause. So there are 4 phases in breathing. You should also be told when you're 5 years old or 4 years old, 4 phases. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. So let's try those 4 phases. So inhaling, slight natural pause, let the breathing change direction, and then exhale with the snake sound. And now we put a little world champion secret to it, how I made many of my world records, beside of training and eating well. Put a smile on your face. A little bit crazy, a little bit the psycho crazy. You put a smile on your face, it puts so many good hormones in your body. Endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, all these, I call them happy hormones, but it's just my way of saying they're good hormones. All that stuff shuts down the adrenaline. When you have those hormones, when you have those good things, it shuts down the production of the bad ones. Adrenaline and cortisol are not bad hormones. You need them to grow muscle. You need them to jump when there's a car hitting you or a bus hitting you on the road, but you need it to turn on for 2 seconds, make the heart beat fast, make blood run to your legs. You can jump like a frog, and then you should calm down again and get back to a normal heart rate and not be in the stressful system of your nervous system. So there are like 2 doors, the stress system, the rest and digest. And we are not taught as a kid, you can decide which door you go into through the way you breathe. That is what I want people to understand. You can decide if you want to go through the stressful door or actually leaving or closing it and going into the rest and digest, so the relaxed door. So this exercise I call Relax on Demand is simply what we did now. You don't have to put your hand on your chest, but people can do it. Sit up straight, and then we should see too that the chest is not moving, or at least it's not moving very much. So chest breathers or mouth breathers will naturally have a hard time doing this exercise today, but with training tomorrow, they can go to my website, breatheology.com, tons of free exercises and explanations and articles. And then by a few days of training or a few weeks, maybe they can reverse it to a bad habit going into a good habit. So the breathing they do becomes more healthy and natural. So the exercise 1-2 breathing means that the inhale is, for example, 4 seconds. The exhale, 8, right? If the inhale is 5, exhale is 10.
Yeah.
The pause in between is about 1 to 2 seconds, but people out there listening can just make it what they want. If you're very stressed or have anxiety, fear, some trauma, it's very difficult to make a longer pause because you feel you need to breathe. So the blueprint or the fingerprint, the bad thing of a stressed breathing is no pause. If you see any person not having a pause, that person is stressed, right? Give me any way of breathing, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Try to breathe in anyway. Obviously, I'm afraid now. Shutting the diaphragm, breathing in the chest. You can see it in my eyes. I'm afraid, I have some fear. No pause. You're running. Good stress, growing stress, muscle stress, safe stress, safe training, right?
Yeah.
But it's still stress. It's not a negative stress, but you're still stressed because you need to deliver a lot of oxygen to your muscles because they're working. So that's the good stress. When you're running, you're growing, but you're not stressing the mind psychologically. If you're crying, people don't make a break. There's not like, no, you cry because you lose the control of your breathing and your senses, your emotional life. So everything is how you breathe is how you feel. Now back to the exercise. Breathe in for 4 or 5 seconds and try, if you're a beginner out there, if you have some issues in your life that is blocking you, just make the pause as long as you feel comfortable, right? We can always meet people next time, podcast number 2, whatever, and they can do longer pauses. But for now, just make it as you feel comfortable. Yeah, 1-2 seconds. So you breathe in for 4 or 5 seconds, depending on your lung volume, through the nose, because the last beautiful thing out of a million things, the nose gives you airflow control. Those holes are small, very small, right? Nostrils, the mouth is huge. You have no control where that air is going, and it goes in the top of your lungs. That's a bad thing, right? But with the nose, it goes in the right direction, and you have the inner nose. It cleanses and it gives the right speed and the right moisture and temperature. Then we kind of covered basically why nose breathing is good. So we do it together now with your listeners. Nose breathing, controlled breathing, the style of 1-2, so double exhale, snake sound, like this. That's 5 seconds, slight pause, and then and you smile and you let go of your shoulders and you loosen the jaw on that exhale and you just feel soft and comfortable in your face and your mind and your heart. And that was 10 seconds. Slight pause, inhale again. Slight pause, exhale like a snake. Tongue or mouth, or tongue or lips, doesn't matter. Or your lips. And already now, with these beautiful people here helping with the podcast, behind the cameras, working hard, going to edit all this nonsense I'm talking about, we feel a change in the room.
Yeah.
Are you from India? Pakistan? India. So you know about this Ayurveda, Pranayam, Bahya Kumbhak. You have heard about all these things? Pranayam is the 4th limb of yoga. It's the breathing secrets, the breathing practice that connects the body from the asanas, from the physical gymnastic exercises, you would call it fitness, with the pratyahara, so with the things in the mind, and then higher levels to go to the 8th limb of the highest level of yoga, and going to the highest crown chakra, so like where you see the light or the ring of Muhammad, of Jesus, of whatever, you always had light. So enlightened. You see the light, you see the light, you understand life, but you become one with the universe. You dissolve your ego. You don't have big dreams. You don't want money. You don't want this, that. You let go. The same with the exhalation. It's cleansing. You rinse the mind, you rinse the body, you rinse the organ to get toxins out from the exhale, right? CO2, but other toxins also that have left from the metabolic rate from all this food we eat. It needs to go somewhere. Yes, we go to the bathroom, boom, this way, but a lot of the waste toxins go out through the breath. So you cleanse your body and you keep your skin clean. You get air, you get oxygen to the layers. There are many layers in the skin. There's the leather layer and the different dermatological terms. You have the collagen, the deep layer that is keeping it all tight. So with this breathing, you're fine-tuning the way that you should breathe. And in pranayama, so I was just going to say, didn't you feel this change in the room?
Yeah.
This quietness. That's why I teach this for businesses. Before a board meeting, before a sales call, before you're finishing a contract, before negotiating.
Before you record as well.
Before you record, before you maybe sit down, before a competition, before lifting. So it creates a completely different atmosphere. It creates a different energy because your mind is changing in frequency. So when you do the simple breathing, as simple as it is, what I'm saying from the beginning of this podcast, this ratio, this rhythm, like music, dong, 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 like the heart rate, it's music. It's a vibration. This whole vibration travels and we feel it in our heart. It's not like mumbo jumbo, it's not yoga, blah, blah, blah. It is, but it's also science. We feel how other people are feeling. And with some training, we can also become more sensorial. We can create these superhuman senses. I have an incredibly fine-tuned smell. So my nose, I can smell people if they're stressed in the way they smell, because stressful, the sweat you make when you're stressed is different from the sports stress. You know what I mean or not? It's more sour, bitter from all the things you're breaking down because the body is not working in the right way and you have different ways of breaking things down. And so also in the pranayama, in the yogic scriptures, they say that the way you should breathe all the time is in like this Ujjayi style. Ujjayi is the warrior breathing. So like you, warrior, strong chest, but a warrior in the body, but also of the mind. So it's called Ujjayi breathing. The first breath I did was a mistake. It was Ujjayi breathing, but I didn't tell you. So it was this. But people don't know this because I didn't talk about this. So this is like the supercharged breathing with the soft palate. But that is for maybe either later or next time. But it should just have been like this, like I did in my second breath. That's normal breathing. The Ujjayi breathing is like next level. But that's the way of controlling the breath. And the Indian scriptures in pranayama, they say this is how you should breathing throughout all the day. This is the way you optimize breathing. And when you exhale through the resistance, let's talk science again. I can ask you what happens. I'm putting you on the spot here. What's happening when you push out the air like this? What are you creating? Resistance.
Yeah.
What does it do to the lungs?
Strengthen the...
It opens the lungs. It strengthens the diaphragm, but it opens the lungs.
Yeah.
Because when you blow against resistance, you slightly increase the partial pressure of the different gases in the lungs. So when you blow against resistance, the partial pressure of oxygen is slightly increased. Like when you're diving under the sea, right? You have this regulator in your mouth. It adapts to the water pressure. The scuba rig. So it means that since you're opening in your lungs, you have millions of little rosebuds, little flower heads, and the alveoli, and you have the capillaries, these fine, hair-fine blood vessels swimming around them like a snake, around these alveoli. And when you blow out through with a slight resistance, they open. This is one way you can cure asthma, or at least become better at working with asthma or having this misalignment in your body, because you open the alveoli and also the bronchi. You have different bigger highways in your lungs, the bronchioles and the bronchi, like the like thicker roads, and you can open everything by making resistance. So both can you push more oxygen into your bloodstream, and you can also get rid of the CO2 faster, which means that you don't produce lactic acid, because the CO2, when it builds up, is what lowers the pH, which again is doing a lot of things to the Bohr-Haldane effect and the shift of the curve of the affinity of oxygen.
I believe people now understand why you called it and named it Breatheology, because it is a complete science. Like, you tapped into so many chapters, which every single one of them is a podcast by itself.
It's just nature, it's timeless wisdom, respect of yoga, and all these systems. I must study more of the Arabic systems, but I'm sure they just have different names. And then it's performance, like you and I, like we see what works. Whether you want to lift, you want to dive, you want to hold your breath, So you use the scientific. So breathology was created on 3 pillars: cutting edge science. You want to use the medical science and the electron microscope to see what's going on, and the PET scan and the MR scan to see what's going on in the brain. How's the oxygen used? All of that. I've done all these things. I've put it all in the book. I've been a guinea pig for 25 years, but also it was for the performance, to see how can I increase my own performance. So the performance element is very important to me, because you want to see results. Also in business, you want to know that you have a sharper mind, you can have more clarity, you can have more creative thoughts, stay focused for a longer time, when you have negotiations and stuff. And then thirdly, it's the timeless wisdom. It's the respect of yoga and these thousands of years of knowing how the body works. Like I said, Ayurveda is a way of using food as medicine. So it's eating healthy food, turmeric, garlic, ginger, natural foods that have a lot of benefits. For example, garlic, very good for the cardiovascular system and lungs, and for a healthy biome, and to kill a lot of bacteria in your body, basically. So just as one example, right?
So since you moved
it's just those 3 pillars connected. So it is really, breathology is really just my 3 hobbies, my interest, but in the best possible way, I think, taking the best exercises from all these incredible worlds and then making it complacent, making it useful in a modern world where we are stressed and we don't have so much time, and we cannot get a body like you just by working out 5 minutes a day. We need to dedicate 3 months or 6 months or 9 months to go through a transformational process. So I'm trying to give some very simplistic exercises that you can use that fit your lifestyle. That's what I try with breathology.
It's amazing, and I really appreciate the hard work that you put on educating people in your book, in your courses. I'm definitely going to look into that. The book I have to get for sure to add.
It's in Arabic also. Maybe you don't even know.
I prefer English.
Okay, but for your listeners, it's also in Arabic.
In Arabic,
and
that's
I own
amazing.
the rights.
Amazing.
So we can put it to any of your listener with the link.
That's amazing. We will definitely. We will.
Of course, there are also English speakers. We have it in English also.
Because people need to be educated and aware how to breathe, to change a lot, to use that extra 30%.
Unfortunately, yes, and it sounds crazy because people go, "Oh, I was breathing all my life, like kind of casual." But maybe we should end if we're kind of coming, so much talking here. I talk like a waterfall, but breathwork has really never been hotter than now. Maybe in the late 60s in the hippie culture, drugs, free love, blah, 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 and kind of a hippie culture alluding to the yoga and colors and all this being free mind, free spirit. But now, because of all the things we've been through the 80s, the yuppie time, the 90s, the zeros, and then 10 and then 20 and all these things in the last few years with governments and big money schemes and banks are controlling more and more the world. We want to be free even more. And one of the biggest lacking pieces I see is that people don't think they can be in the driver's seat of their own life. They want the doctor to tell them which prescription to take, which medicine to fix the problem they don't know how they got because they were never told how to solve it. So we're really living in this kind of paradox of a world where people have the ability at home. I'm not stupid, I'm not like crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying never go to the doctor, don't get surgery, don't eat pills. You can heal yourself just by breathing. No, of course not. But there is certainly a lot of things you can do with your mind, body, and spirit through proper breathing, proper diet, proper sleep, all the normal things people know that you do. Maybe what they need is a little bit of help, like you, coaching people, telling them how much to train, what is soothing for their body type, what food should they eat, and stuff like that.
Talking about diet, I want to end up this beautiful podcast. It's one of the best podcasts I've ever had, but definitely not the last with you. I would definitely have you as another...
We could talk about breathholding and diving next time, which has a lot of benefits for everyday people.
We will throw this podcast and see what people would like to hear, but definitely, But I want to end up and wrap up. What is Stig's diet, and how do you look into the diet to help you do what you are able to do? Let's not talk about the science behind the breathing. Let's talk about personally Stig and the superhuman Stig. How does your diet correlate to becoming superhuman?
Not what people would think. That's like You could put that on Facebook.
This is my personal
Instagram
question.
Cliffhanger. Yeah, I said it already in the beginning of the podcast. I'm not an angel. I like sweets. I can eat cake. I drink alcohol, but not a lot. And I know that.
But what do you prioritize?
But I often meet people that, if they don't know me well, I'm with family that, does he eat cake or he's a world champion? I was running for an hour and a half this morning. I was in the pool at 5:00.
Yeah.
So I can eat cake.
Yeah.
So. The interesting thing is, back to yoga, pranayama, beautiful Indian brothers here. In pranayama, which is this fourth limb of yoga, the breath, the style, but they also talk about, besides the breath holding, we can come back to that, they talk about in yoga in general and Ayurveda, when you're healthy and balanced, and I'm sure you have the same in your religion or your background, when you're balanced and healthy, you can eat basically anything you want. And you break it down and you don't get allergies and this, that, because your body is natural. So that also means that the body knows what to eat. It tells you what to eat. Like women that are pregnant, they know they should eat herring or chocolate or crayons almost. They need, different things to develop the bone structure of the baby. They need fat. They need maybe salt. So they crave salts or nuts. I'm not a woman, but women know what I'm talking about. We have this natural ability to feel what we need. So I think with the breathing, with the swimming, with my studies, I just have a very natural way of feeling what I need. So the short answer is I eat everything.
Okay.
Everything.
So there's no prioritizing in something over something.
No, but then in different times of my life and different trainings, I've tried to be just piscivore, just eating from the ocean, like to become a fish,
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes I only have been eating vegetables. Doesn't work for me. I don't get enough protein. You would have the same problem with the body you have. You can, but you would have to spend 2 hours, or your wife, preparing food every day to get enough proteins.
Yeah.
When you burn a lot of proteins. Then a very, I would say, fun fact, interesting thing that is perfect for my lifestyle because I live around the world. I'm a citizen of the world. Now getting my golden visa here in Dubai, but I also live in Malaysia, Mexico, Denmark, Norway, and I'm half Swedish. And Spain. I have a beautiful villa in the south of Spain where I train as well. Have a nice little swimming pool. I have done a lot of different diets, and it's been natural to me because in freediving, you do fasting. Fasting and other timeless in any culture, any religion, you do it to cleanse the mind, to not be obsessed or think about food, and maybe in different times of different periods of famine and not so much food, it would be a nice way to be able to survive, basically. So I've done a lot of fasting, and before freediving, you want to do fasting because you don't want a lot of food in your system. We don't want to go into all the biology and stuff and science, but basically you want to empty your guts, and when you eat food, the blood runs there to digest the food and take up the nutrients, and the heart rate goes up. So the last two things you want as a freediver, when you want your heart rate low and nothing here to digest, because you want the oxygen to burn for the brain and your heart and not for anything else, then I do fasting. So I found out with my travel schedule, both from traveling and from the freediving, it became incredibly convenient. That for example, last year I did the 5-3. Which is like one of the best ways of giving bang for the buck. So I would do all summer, June, July, August, not eat the first week. So first week of June, not eating from weekend to weekend.
Okay.
That's Monday, so 5 days, that's 120, 130 hours. I did 130 hours. Then 3 weeks of normal eating. But of course, you're more aware of what you eat when you know that what you put into your body has an effect. So then again, July, I would go the first week, fasting, and then again the first week of August. So it kind of gives you a boost when you do it 3 times, and it resets your cells. So whether you're doing breath holding, cold water exposure, heavy lifting, shocking your muscles, or diet or fasting, especially fasting, you have this effect on your metabolic rate, and the cells are waking up. That is the most unscientific way I can put it. So people understanding you're kind of getting your cells on the toes, and they think, ooh, something is happening. I need to reallocate my way of producing energy, or I need to use it more smartly, oxygen and food. And then your mind understands that you don't need to eat all the time. You don't need to eat every day. You don't need to eat every other day, every third day. It doesn't matter. And you will not get headaches, and you will not get, these episodes of aggression and screaming and yelling. So I eat kind of everything, and I think people can have a normal, balanced diet and become more healthy, actually.
Yeah.
And with allergies and whatnot, all this getting more naturalized or balanced, if they just listen to what the body really tells them. And obviously, if you eat, I said shit food before, but just let's call it pure nutrient food or very processed food, of course you're not getting all the fibers and grains and minerals that you need. You don't need a biology degree to understand that if you eat white, dead bread, you're not getting any fibers that can help your intestines to have a massage and work and take up impurities and stuff from your body. So I would say, surprisingly, my diet is very varied, but I've experimented with a lot of things. I've also tried the carnivore. Of course, I've tried to just eat a lot of meat. Works fine for me as well.
Okay.
But the vegetarian, I'm lacking protein.
Yeah.
Because I'm so active in my training.
Thank you for mentioning the carnivore. I was waiting for that. And people as well listening to this was waiting for the carnivore, because I've been on a carnivore diet for the past 14 months now. So it worked absolutely fine with me, and I'm loving it more than anything else.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Stig. I really appreciate all the knowledge. For me, this was a course about breathing and the deep, deep dive that you take in the sea. I took in knowledge of breathing, and I hope the audience as well listen to that.
Yeah, I want to thank the audience also, because they're taking time to listen to us, and that is their lifetime.
Absolutely.
Just like your breath is your lifetime, then every single breath I've used here has been with us. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll definitely have you for another podcast, hopefully in the studio this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.